In this episode, we're going to take a look at some forgotten 80s toys that I had a hard time classifying. So, we're going to let them be themselves and just be toys. So, stick around. Hello, fellow nostalgia seekers, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name is Rob, and in this episode, we'll be taking a look at more forgotten 80s toys. These are toys that kinda don't fit within a different genre or classification, which is what I usually like to do when I group them up for these episodes. These are just toys. Either there are too few of them to make a whole episode on a specific genre, or they're in a class all of their own, which is super exciting to take a look at. Before we get started, and there's the spin cycle. Anyway, it wouldn't be a laundry room without the spin cycle, but let me get back to what I was saying. Before we get started, let me just say that this used to be the show Plastic Ghosts, which I love the name, I love the theme, but I just kind of thought with this new season that I'm starting, just keep it simple and put this into the Nostalgia Syndrome category because, why make it more difficult than it really needs to be? I know, super silly, I'm the only one that probably cares about it, but I just wanted to report that. Anyway, let's get to number one. Number one was a toy that aimed to capitalize on one of the biggest fads of the 1980s, breakdancing. This toy was released in 1984, which coincidentally is the same year that this movie came out. Who could forget this classic tale of American youth combating the man through dance? Break dance. Anyway, I've seen this movie more times than I can count, and believe me, I love it every single time I watch it. But what we're talking about is a toy released by Tomy called Breakdancers. Now, Tomy was hands down one of the most innovative toy companies at the time. They were making real robots and selling them to kids at a very hefty price. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, they made awesome wind-up toys that to this day are just really iconic and awesome looking. But with Breakdancers, they were using their innovation to make a more modern version of the classic top. Now, this came with one of those rip cords that you would put in and, it had the little teeth, and after a while they would wear down and it wouldn't be as fun. Anyway, it came with one of those, and when you ripped it out, the head of this would spin around super fast that you could put it on the ground and he would do gyrations, on his head or on one of his arms. I don't know if it was both arms, but the back of the packaging advertised one of the arms could also spin around to give you that awesome breakdancing effect. Now, there were 3 breakdancers in total with pretty awesome names. They were Boogaloo Shoe, which is inspired by Boogaloo Shrimp, I'm sure, Crazy Plane, and Shamma Gamma. Honestly, the only downside that I can see with these figures is, at least on the back of the packaging, they look more like linebackers in football. They kind of have that old school football helmet and they're very broad, but I guess it's that wide base that allows them to spin. Anyway, breakdancing was awesome, it still is awesome, and it'll live forever. Number 2. Seems like one of those situations where some dude in an office somewhere came up with a name, and the company scrambled to create a toy for that name. These are the Whatnots, and spelled like not, like Slipknot. Anyway, these are released by Spearhead in 1986. And yeah, they're very simple, very cool, and like I said, fall into a class all of their own. These were little windy, bendy characters that you could take the legs off of, the arms off of, and swap them with the other Whatnots. And the other Whatnots in the collection all had a running theme where their names started with W. Beginning with Wacky, the clown Whatnot. Then Waldo, the monster dragon-esque Whatnot. Next we have Wheelie, which pretty much is just a worm caterpillar dude with wheels for limbs. That looks a lot like those dudes from Return to Oz. Ooh, creepy. Then we have Widget, which is the robotic Whatnot. And what's weird about him is he just looks like a bipedal robot with a weird flesh color appendage coming out of his backside. Yeah, you can read more into that if you want to, but I am definitely not. Then we have Winkle, which is just your run-of-the-mill caterpillar type dude, and I mean, he looks pretty cool, and I'm assuming he's like the baseline character of the line, because he just, I mean, it's just a classic caterpillar-esque design. But then we have Woof, which is a goofy-looking dog dude. Anyway, I do have to give props to Spearhead on one thing. The back of this packaging has great artwork. Very 80s. I mean, glossy, shiny, happy, very Lisa Frankish, and yeah, I give it extra points for that. The toys, not so much. There's a creepy factor that I just can't get over. Number 3 on the list seems like one of those toys that your kindly grandmother or crazy aunt would have ended up getting you. It is the Rhymekins, released by Funrise in 1988. Now, these toys were based on nursery rhymes and fairy tales. There were 9 in total, and they were 2-packs. They featured such classic tales as the Emperor's New Clothes, Thankfully He Came Clothed, Humpty Dumpty, Jack and Jill, Jack and the Beanstalk, different Jacks I'm sure, Little Red Riding Hood, which that wolf has definitely seen some stuff. I mean, look at this dude. He looks more scared than like the grandmother or Little Red Riding Hood would be. Mary Had a Little Lamb. I mean, they could just say Mary and a Lamb. Anyway, Simple Simon, The Tortoise and the Hare, and Town Mouse and Country Mouse, which that's probably the one I would have liked to get. Now, the one thing I find interesting is on the back of the packaging, it talks about that a Series 2 is coming out. And Series 2, I can't find any information on. I'm surprised I could find information on these. But let me just go off this real quick. Series 2 was to include The Lion and the Mouse, The Emperor's New Clothes. That's in Series 1. Unless they did make that nude version. The Old Woman in the Shoe, Mother Goose, Rapunzel, and Little Miss Muffet, which probably would have been cool if it came with like a big monstrous spider. That one would have been one to look out for. Anyway, Rhymekins. Yeah, this seems like a toy that you would find in the dollar store today, but this was probably a toy that would populate Kmart or Woolworth back in the 80s. And like I said, it was probably one of those things that a lot of kids got from their grandmother or that crazy aunt. Number 4 on the list is another toy that wanted to capitalize on an emerging fad, and that fad was skateboarding. This toy was the Skateboard Gang, released by Mattel in 1986. Now, what is awesome about this toy line? See, we've talked about other skateboarding toys, and they kind of fell into that gross out category. These are pretty straightforward. Yes, they're very colorful and imaginative characters, but they're just there to skateboard, not to gross you out. Now, we have skateboarders such as Eyesore, and it's not like an eyesore, it's I soar into the heavens! Even though he looks like a punk rock guy. I mean, they could have made him an astronaut or something, but our next one is Jimmy B. Chin, which I'm wondering if that's just a normal real-life skateboarder guy? I don't know, because the name seems pretty normal. Our third one is Ollie McTwist, which for some reason when I see him reminds me of Stacy Peralta. I mean, with the headband, the short shorts, you know, just a plain white tee. Maybe that was their inspiration, which that'd be pretty cool. Next we have Total Lee Cool. That's right, first name Total, middle name Lee, last name Cool. This guy, he's in an awesome pose, so that's pretty cool. And last but not least, the most awesome of the Skateboard Gang, Wipeout, the skateboarding dog. Hands down, the best figure of any skateboarding toy line. Hands down. Now, one of the coolest things about this toy line, other than the skateboarding dog, was it actually had a playset, which we'll talk about in a future episode of Forgotten Playsets. Now, these featured rev-em-up, gyro-powered stunts. That sounds pretty cool, but I can't give that any justice. But the original commercial can, so watch this.
So, you want to join the gang?
The Skateboard Gang with Ollie McTwist. They're hot, they're here, ready to rip. Flat out on top, wigged out, ramped out. He's totally cool. He's Wipeout. They're the masters at fast, rad, raiding, and riding. The Skateboard Gang. Gang members and stud rap each sold separately. You can't beat them, so you might as well join them. I did. The Skateboard Gang.
Sometimes I stumble upon a toy line that seems pretty cut and dry. I start by finding a name and a release year. From there, I find some pictures and do a little bit of research. Now, like I said, it's usually cut and dry and that's about all you need. But then sometimes during that research, you find how deep the potential of a toy line could have been. But it was snuffed out before it could really begin. That toy, and please don't laugh at the name because they had big hopes for it. The toy line was the Funville Wieners, made by Kisscom in 1983. Now, I stumbled upon a website, and you should check it out if you want to learn a little bit more about the Funville Wieners. I know, funny sounding. But if you head over to melberncrant.com, who was one of the co-creators of the Wieners, you will learn that there was so much hope and potential in this toy line. The toy company, Kisscom, was made from the ashes of color forms, apparently. And they wanted their next venture to be all-encompassing and really knock it out of the park. They put all their eggs into the wiener basket, and unfortunately, there were a lot of false starts and a lot of bad endings that, yeah, these wieners didn't get any traction. Now, what we did end up seeing was a few little PVC hot dog characters, and they're pretty cute. But when you look at the research on this website that I told you about, and I'll put that address up here so you can check it out, the art style that they were going for was very like old school black and white cartoon-esque, like in that Betty Boop era. And really nice artwork, really great designs, and like I said, they were really aiming for the fences. I mean, they had everything planned from Halloween costumes. They had a telephone planned. You know, telephones were the big deal back then. Garfield phone, Snoopy phone, what have you. They wanted you to have a wiener phone. And I think I would have taken them up on that offer. But everything was planned. Plushies, action figures, just everything. and they went to different companies. They even had a cartoon series planned. It was going to begin as one movie to help advertise their product, but they discovered that that era was gone, and the long-form syndicated cartoon was what was the new fad, and they wanted to jump on that. Again, a false start, it fell flat. After reading that, I really appreciate the Funville Wieners. I know it's really weird. I mean, I just thought, hey, this sounds funny, they look pretty cool, let's talk about them. I had no idea that I was going to be emotionally attached to these wieners and really let down that we didn't see all these awesome things that they had planned. Now, I think it was 1987, they sold off the rights to another company, I believe, and that one tried to, again, make some wieners, but again, it didn't go anywhere. Maybe it's just the simple fact that they're anthropomorphic hot dog people that people really weren't, clamoring for. But with some of the other crazy stuff that we were seeing in the 80s, this fit right in if you really think about it. I mean, look at the food fighters. Wiener people. They go hand in hand. Anyway, I could only find that they made 6 official Funville Wiener figures. There's a chance I stumble upon some more when we start digging on eBay. The back of the packaging features the story of the Funville Wienies, and allow me to pay respects and read this story as it appeared on the back of the packaging. Funville, home of the Wienies, is nestled in nature in an unknown location. From bunrise to bunset, Funville is filled with bunshine and love. The bun rays shine on the town's coffee pot, and it begins to perk to signal the start of a new day. Funville is small town America at its best, where everyone cares and everyone participates. Hooray for the weenies of Funville, where traditional values of love and concern live on. I'm sorry, right there, sign me up. I want to live in Funville. I mean, bunrise to bunset, it is a happening place. Now, this picture on the back looks like they envisioned different play sets and things like that as well. Oh, and they also had cars. They were going to release weenie racers or ween racers, something like that. But anyway, on the back of the package, we also see that there are 10 different wieners. And they are Beanie Weenie, Willie Weenie, Hot Doggy, Wilhelmina Weenie, Joe Baloney, Honey Bun, Texas Weenie, Meanie Weenie, Wacky Weenie, and Waldo Weenie. Now, if we would have gotten this toy line, we would have gotten this character. This is the most demonic and evil-looking hot dog I have ever seen, and if they would have released it, sign me up. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the latest installment of Forgotten 80s Toys. This time, just toys. These are toys in a class all of their own that don't have a genre, don't have a classification. They're just toys, and they were meant to be played with. I know after this, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the Funville Wienies because, yeah, they were going all out with this toy line, and it's really sad to see, yeah, it just got snuffed out so soon in its life, and none of these things came to fruition. I mean, these things could have been as big as Smurfs. I doubt it, but at least they were trying. I mean, that's a lot more than a lot of toy companies did in the 80s. Yeah, Kisscom was really trying something, and I really feel sorry for them. I mean, yeah, all these forgotten toys, they don't all have happy endings. Anyway, with that, I'm going to leave it there because I have met my daily quota of saying wieners and weenies, so I don't have anything else to say. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everyone. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.